Now, the high-tech solution, Florida is deploying robotic rabbits to help capture invasive Burmese pythons in the Everglades. These decoy bunnies are solar-powered, remote-controlled, and complete.
Florida's Everglades are under siege by an invasive predator that has thrown the ecosystem into chaos. Traditional hunting failed, so officials turned to an unusual solution: robotic rabbits, built to lure massive Burmese pythons into the open. But the plan quickly backfired, attracting more than just snakes and triggering violent encounters deep in the swamp. These solar-powered decoys, using heat, scent, and motion, became key in a desperate fight. Amid destruction and surprise alligator attacks, they uncovered a hidden weakness, turning failure into a breakthrough that could finally shift the battle. The Burmese python invasion. Florida's Everglades, a sprawling network of wetlands and sawgrass marshes, has become the unlikely battleground in a silent but devastating war. The enemy is an invasive predator more than 15 feet long, capable of swallowing prey larger than a human child. Burmese pythons, native to Southeast Asia, have taken hold in this fragile ecosystem and disrupted its delicate balance in ways that few could have predicted. Their presence has reshaped the food chain, triggering a cascade of ecological consequences that threaten native wildlife and the health of the Everglades itself. These giant constrictors didn't arrive by accident of nature, but by human carelessness and disaster. During the exotic pet boom of the late 20th century, Burmese pythons were often sold as charming but manageable pets, prized for their striking markings. Yet, as these snakes grew rapidly to enormous sizes, many owners found themselves unprepared and soon released their once tame companions into Florida's waterways. The chaos deepened after Hurricane Andrew tore through the region in 1992, destroying breeding facilities and unleashing even more pythons into the wild. Since then, the python population has exploded with little to halt it. Unlike native predators, these snakes face almost no natural enemies here, and each capable female lays up to 100 eggs during the breeding season. Biologists now estimate tens of thousands of them slither through South Florida's wetlands, with some areas showing near total collapse in populations of native mammals. Raccoons, rabbits, and possums have disappeared by 90% or more in zones where pythons dominate. The pythons possess a feeding method that creates deep concern. The apex predators execute their hunting strategy through ambushes, which lead to their targets' deaths through their strong body control, which enables them to slay all living things from small mammals up to deer and alligators. The massive snakes that appear in videos battle alligators through fights that reach such extreme levels that both animals sometimes die. The Everglades, which once served as a natural habitat for numerous species, has become a conflict zone that leads to the extinction of various indigenous species. Burmese python population control efforts have failed to succeed, even though people understand the existing problem. State officials used publicly promoted extermination programs to recruit both hunters and volunteers for their initial efforts. The Python Challenge in 2013 promised cash prizes for snake capture, while public interest would serve as the main system for snake removal. The result showed that of the 10,000 pythons that existed at that time, only 68 were caught, which represented an extremely small fraction of the total population. The state of Florida spends extensive funds on professional hunters after their unsuccessful attempt to contain pythons, which resulted in them hiring licensed trappers who operate in the Everglades at night, using their flashlights and machetes. Although the hunters successfully captured several extremely large animals, their operational expenses reached extremely high levels, and the snake population continued to grow. The wetland area contains such extensive space and thick vegetation that search operations become as difficult as searching for a needle within a swampy haystack. The Everglades face permanent python infestation because every python that gets removed from the area gets replaced by another python. Wildlife managers had to find new solutions because the invasion reached such extensive dimensions that it continued to operate indefinitely. The python's natural ability to hide and their behavior of being active during nighttime created major challenges for hunters who depended on visual detection and random encounters. The design team required a new solution that would utilize the natural snake behavior while avoiding human constraints. With conventional techniques faltering, the search for more effective detection tools led researchers to an unexpected but powerful aid: the remarkable senses of specially trained dogs and, later, attempts at live baiting using natural prey. Dogs and live prey attempts. Humans are limited by their eyesight and patience in the dense, sprawling Everglades, but dogs possess a keen sense that can pick up what humans cannot: the faintest odors lingering in the air and soil. Wildlife officials recognized this advantage and began training dogs specifically to detect the scent of Burmese pythons. These canine hunters became a critical asset, capable of covering ground much faster and locating snakes hidden beneath thick vegetation or water. Meet Truman and Eleanor, a black Labrador and a Dutch Shepherd, whose noses could sense even the faint musk left behind by these elusive reptiles. Training was intense. The dogs had to distinguish the python's smell from the overwhelming swamp environment, where the scents of countless animals mingle and shift throughout the day. Yet once trained, Truman and Eleanor demonstrated remarkable success, finding snakes unseen by human eyes in minutes rather than hours. They changed the calculus of python hunting, proving that scent detection was the key to piercing the snake's camouflage. Their early victories sparked hope that the invasive species could be brought under control after all. The Everglades presented various difficulties because its extreme conditions created obstacles for the four-legged detectives. The extreme heat, combined with sharp sawgrass and venomous snakes and alligators, required the dogs to wear special protection, and their safety needed continuous supervision. The dogs showed exceptional bravery through their physical abilities and their precise detection skills, but two dogs could not handle the entire Everglades territory, which covered 1.5 million acres. Researchers studied additional methods to attract pythons because they wanted to boost the success of the dogs. Scientists developed a disturbing yet effective method that used live marsh rabbits as bait to attract snakes by exploiting their natural hunting behavior. The construction of pens in strategic areas, which pythons were known to frequent, allowed safe containment of rabbits, which would panic at the presence of snakes. The plan required the pythons to come within range of hunters, who would then proceed to capture or slay them upon their arrival. The initial weeks showed that their strategy worked effectively. The pythons kept coming back because they could detect the terrified rabbits through their scent and body heat and their movements. The method of using live animals as research subjects created ethical problems, which led to immediate public and animal welfare organization backlash. The state government suspended its funding and stopped the live bait research because people reacted with outrage at the sight of rabbits shaking in fear while large snakes surrounded them. The fight against the relentless invading force required urgent action, but the moral cost proved to be excessive. The search for a new solution became more urgent after researchers discovered that live animals were not an acceptable option, and scent detection dogs had reached their operational limits. Scientists and wildlife managers needed to develop a new bait solution that could serve as real prey decoys while maintaining ethical standards and effectively deceiving pythons in swamp environments. This insight led to an ambitious and unexpected innovation, something that would blur the line between biology and technology in the most dramatic way possible. Enter the robotic rabbits. Imagine a robot designed not to build, but to deceive. A mechanical creature crafted to imitate life so perfectly it could fool a wild python into thinking it had found a meal. This was the ambitious dream behind Florida's Robotic Rabbit Project, built with synthetic fur, precise heat emitters mimicking a rabbit's body temperature, and even chemical scent releases designed to replicate real animal musk. These solar-powered decoys were state-of-the-art lures meant to revolutionize python hunting in the Everglades. Each robotic rabbit came equipped with hidden cameras, motion detectors, and transmitters, turning them into silent sentinels. Inserted into protective pens in known python hotspots, the rabbits weren't meant to harm the snakes, but to draw them in, feeding alerts to waiting teams ready to strike. With a price tag of about $4,000 each and over 100 deployed, these decoys represented a costly gamble on high-tech ingenuity in one of the world's toughest natural environments. In the first 2 days, the robotic rabbits seemed to live up to their promise. The cameras captured incredible footage of massive pythons striking at the artificial prey, their tongues flicking curiously, coils tightening in anticipation. Hunters were notified immediately and moved in to capture snake after snake, confirming that the robots were excellent at drawing pythons out of hiding. It was a breakthrough moment, technology connecting hunters to prey with unprecedented precision. Then, chaos erupted. One early alert revealed not a python, but a 12-foot alligator charging the enclosure. The alligator bit down hard, instantly crushing a $4,000 robot into shards. This was only the beginning. The robots, designed to mimic the warmth, movement, and scent of prey, attracted far more than just snakes. Alligators, attracted to the same heat and twitching signals, launched repeated attacks. Not only did this cause massive financial losses, but the presence of alligators discouraged pythons from approaching altogether. The robotic rabbits, once heralded as a cutting-edge solution, had become bait for a new kind of predator war. Pythons began avoiding the decoys, wary of the alligator threat. Swamp creatures of all kinds interfered with the project, and batteries ran down in the oppressive humidity and mud. The mission risked being written off as an expensive failure, a lesson in nature's unpredictable complexity. Yet, even amid the chaos and destruction, the robots were quietly gathering something even more valuable than snake captures: data. Invisible to the naked eye, sensors logged every moment, every visitor, every interaction, turning the robotic rabbits into a sprawling network of eyes and ears across the Everglades. The swamp had not been conquered by brute force or luck, but by the steady pulse of technology reading its deepest secrets. Chaos in the swamp. The robotic rabbits promised a new era of python hunting, but the Everglades had other plans. Almost immediately after deployment, the robots attracted more than just pythons. Among the first unexpected visitors was a 12-foot alligator, drawn by the warm, twitching decoy as if it were an easy, struggling meal. In a flash, the robotic rabbit was crushed under powerful jaws, a costly $4,000 device lost in a single bite. This encounter was only the start of a relentless assault by the swamp's apex predators on the robotic bait. Alligators quickly learned these robots were convenient targets, and dozens more fell victim to their powerful jaws. The decoys, designed to mimic heat, scent, and movement, were irresistibly real to the reptiles. What made matters worse was the ongoing rivalry between pythons and alligators, ancient enemies battling for territory and food. Now, the humans had unwittingly dropped flashing dinner bells deep within this battleground, igniting a predator war no one expected. As the alligators tore apart the robotic rabbits, their destructive behavior sent ripples through the ecosystem, and the python population responded. Sensing danger, many pythons began avoiding the bait entirely, wary of the lurking alligator threat. The very tools meant to lure them out had become signals of peril. Suddenly, the project's early promise unraveled into a costly disaster that tested the patience and perseverance of everyone involved. The chaos extended beyond just alligator attacks. Other wildlife interfered with the robots, and the harsh swamp conditions strained their fragile electronics. Heat, humidity, mud, and sawgrass took their toll on the solar panels, batteries, and sensors. The robots lived short, expensive lives in a place where nature's unpredictability ruled supreme. For many, the effort seemed doomed, a high-tech dream shattered by unexplained realities of the wild. The officials started to assess whether they should completely stop their operations. The program faced a challenging choice because replacement costs, frequent equipment destruction, and declining efficiency rendered the program unfeasible. The unexpected development emerged when hidden elements started to show themselves through the remains of the disaster. The robots recorded every attack and failed attempt, while their intact systems captured all the details of the swamp's hidden activities. The robots' sensors recorded every passing moment to gather essential information about which animals visited at specific times and how they moved. The motion-triggered cameras recorded both the dramatic python attacks and the movement patterns of lesser-known animals that traveled across the landscape. The sensors collected data about temperature, time, and directional movement, which resulted in an extensive database that surpassed all original expectations. The machines functioned as more than bait because they operated as surveillance devices throughout the Everglades. The analysis of data from 120 robotic rabbits created a new pattern that remained invisible to human trackers. The pythons traveled through water and sawgrass using specific routes that they employed to move between their feeding and breeding areas. Alligators used the same routes, which created a hidden competition that occurred below the water. The swamp functioned as a network of hidden predator paths, which became visible only when robotic spies disclosed their locations. The project transformed from a complete failure into a valuable research resource because it unintentionally collected intelligence. The first observation of invasive giant social systems and their territorial defense methods appeared through what people considered useless research. The fragile hope born from this chaos sparked a bold new chapter in the fight, one that would rely on the power of machines not just to lure snakes, but to study and predict their every move. Finding value in failure. Failure is often seen as the end, but in the Everglades, it became the beginning of something far more powerful. Among the wreckage of destroyed robotic rabbits, one insight changed everything. The machines weren't just bait, they were silent observers. Each unit had been recording non-stop, capturing heat signatures, motion, and every creature that passed by. What looked like a failed experiment had actually built a massive, continuous dataset of predator behavior. When analysts combined data from all the units, they uncovered something no field team could ever track alone. A hidden map began to form, one that revealed how pythons and alligators moved through the swamp. These weren't random paths. They were consistent routes, almost like highways, connecting feeding zones, nesting areas, and territorial boundaries across the Everglades. But the real breakthrough came from what those patterns meant. Pythons weren't wandering blindly. They were actively avoiding alligators. Their movement followed an invisible schedule shaped by fear, carefully timed to reduce deadly encounters. This revealed a kind of behavioral rhythm, a survival strategy that dictated when and where they traveled. With this discovery, scientists turned to AI. Feeding the data into advanced models, the system began predicting python behavior with striking accuracy. It could forecast not just where snakes had been, but where they would be, hours or even days ahead. For the first time, hunters weren't reacting, they were anticipating. The impact was immediate. Instead of waiting for chance encounters, teams intercepted pythons along these predicted routes. Captures became more frequent, more coordinated, and far more effective. Even more critical, the data exposed hidden breeding grounds, deep, concealed nests, where hundreds of eggs were laid. Targeting these locations struck directly at the population's future. In just 1 month, more pythons were removed than in years of previous efforts combined. What started as a costly failure had quietly built the most powerful tool in the fight, a living map of predator behavior. The robotic rabbits may have failed as lures, but they succeeded as sentinels, and in doing so, they proved a powerful truth. Sometimes, the biggest breakthroughs are hidden inside our worst failures. As the Everglades continues to wrestle with this invasion, the blend of technology and biology shines as the most hopeful beacon on the horizon. The AI breakthrough and future battles. The data collected by the robotic rabbits finally revealed its true power when it was fed into an advanced AI system. Instead of simply organizing footage, the AI began detecting patterns no human could easily see. It learned when and where Burmese pythons moved, predicting their positions with surprising accuracy. What once felt impossible, tracking these elusive predators, suddenly became a calculated science. At the core of this breakthrough was fear. The AI uncovered that pythons consistently avoided alligator territory, carefully choosing routes and times to reduce encounters. This exposed a hidden rhythm, a kind of behavioral schedule that guided how the snakes traveled, hunted, and reproduced. With this insight, the fight shifted from guesswork to precision. The hunters abandoned their previous method of waiting for snakes to show themselves. The hunters went straight to their anticipated snake hotspots for the purpose of capturing pythons that used established pathways. The AI system delivered essential information, which enabled the teams to discover hidden breeding sites where female snakes deposited their eggs. The targeted attacks on these particular sites disrupted the population at its fundamental breeding grounds, which established a genuine opportunity for permanent population management. The outcome of the experiment produced immediate results. The snake removal efforts during that month achieved higher results than the complete bounty work from the previous year. The failed experiment of the past became the most effective instrument for python tracking because it produced a scientific map of python habitats. The Everglades still maintain their extensive territory, which contains unpredictable elements. The snakes keep changing their behavior patterns while the battle continues without any signs of completion. The combination of artificial intelligence technology with practical work in the field represents a major development. The research demonstrates that failures can lead to major discoveries, which show that future wildlife management will require both physical strength and knowledge about nature's concealed behaviors. The Robotic Rabbit project shows how bold ideas can turn costly failures into groundbreaking tools. From invasive pythons threatening the Everglades to AI predicting their every move, technology combined with nature's secrets is reshaping this battle. If this story pulled you in, hit like, subscribe, and stick around. There's another video on your screen you won't want to miss.